Chapter 45. It was late at night when Andrea Cavalcanti returned to the Hotel de Princess, but no sooner had he set foot in the courtyard than he found the concierge of the hotel waiting for him, cap in hand. "Sir, that man was here," said the concierge. "What man?" asked Andrea nonchalantly, as though he had forgotten the man, whom he actually remembered only too well. "The one you pay a little pension to, Excellency." "Oh, yes," said Andrea, "that old servant of my father's. Well, did you give him the 200 francs I left for him?" "He refused to take the money, Excellency." "What?" "He said he wanted to speak to you, Excellency. At first he wouldn't believe me when I told him you were out, but I finally convinced him, and he left this letter for you." "Let's have it," said Andrea. He took the letter and read these words. "You know where I live. I will expect you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Come up to my room when you finish with the horses," said Andrea to his groom. He had just finished burning Caderousse's letter when the groom entered. "You're about my size, aren't you, Pierre?" asked Andrea. "I have that honor, Excellency," replied the groom. "I have an appointment with a girl tonight, and I don't want her to know who I am. Lend me your clothes and your papers so that I can sleep in a hotel tonight." The groom obeyed. 5 minutes later, Andrea, completely disguised, left the Hotel de Princess without being recognized, hired a cab, and had himself taken to the Auberge du Cheval Rouge in Picpus. The next morning, he left the inn, went to the Rue Menil-Monte, and stopped before the door of the third house on the left. "Are you looking for someone?" asked the fruit seller on the other side of the street. "I'm looking for Monsieur Palatin." "The retired baker?" "That's right. Take the stairway on your left at the end of the courtyard. He lives on the 4th floor." Andrea followed these directions and rang at the door on the 4th floor. A moment later, Caderousse's face appeared behind the grating of the door. "You're right on time," he said. He unlocked the door. On entering the room, Andrea angrily threw his cap at a chair. It missed and rolled across the floor. "Don't be angry, my boy," said Caderousse. "Look at the good breakfast we're going to have, and nothing but things you like." Andrea smelled the odor of garlic and fresh grease given off by Provençal cooking of an inferior order. In the next room, he saw a table set for two, with 2 bottles of wine, a generous measure of brandy in a decanter, and a fruit salad and a cabbage leaf carefully arranged on an earthenware plate. "If you ask me to come here just to have breakfast with you, you can go to the devil," said Andrea irritably. "My boy," said Caderousse sententiously, "it's good to talk while eating. Aren't you happy to see your old friend again?" "I'm overjoyed." "Hypocrite," said Andrea. "If I didn't like you, would I put up with the miserable life you made me lead? I see you're wearing your servant's clothes. Well, I could have been a servant too. I could have a Tilbury like you, and I could eat in fashionable restaurants like you do. And why do I deprive myself of all that? Because I don't want to cause any trouble for my friend Benedetto. But you'll have to admit I could have those things if I wanted to, isn't that right?" Caderousse's eyes made the meaning of his sentence perfectly clear. "And meanwhile," he continued, "sit down and let's eat." Andrea opened the bottles and energetically attacked the bouillabaisse. Young and vigorous as he was, his appetite still prevailed over everything else. "Isn't that good?" asked Caderousse. "It's so good that I don't understand how a man who can cook and eat such good things could ever be unhappy." "And yet all my happiness is spoiled by one thought," said Caderousse. "What's that?" "The thought that I'm living at the expense of a friend, I who always earned my own living before." "Don't worry about that. I have enough for 2. Just the same, I'm full of remorse, but I have an idea." Andrea shuddered. Caderousse's ideas always made him shudder. "It's a shame the way you have to always wait until the end of the month for your allowance," continued Caderousse. "If I were you, I'd ask for 6 months' allowance in advance on the pretext that you want to buy a farm. Then I take the money and disappear." "Why don't you follow your own advice?" asked Andrea. "Why don't you take 6 months of your allowance in advance, or even a year, and go to Brussels with it?" "How do you expect me to live on 1,200 francs? I have a better plan. Could you, without spending a sou of your own money, lend me 15,000 francs? No, wait a moment, that's not enough. I don't want to become an honest man for less than 30,000. "No, I can't do it," replied Andrea curtly. "I don't think you understand me. I said without spending a sou of your own money. Do you want me to steal so I can spoil everything for both of us and get us both put back in prison?" "Oh, I don't care whether they catch us or not," said Caderousse. I often miss our friends back there in prison. I'm not heartless like you. You never want to see them again. This time, Andrea not only shuddered, but turned pale. Don't do anything foolish, Caderousse, he cried. Don't worry, Benedetto, my friend. All you have to do is find a way for me to earn 30,000 francs for myself without involving yourself in any way. All right, all right. I'll keep my eyes open. In the meantime, I want you to increase my allowance to 5,000 francs. I'd like to hire a maid. All right. You have your 500 francs, but it's going to be hard for me. I don't see why, said Caderousse, since your money comes from a limitless supply. Andrea seemed to have been waiting for this remark. A gleam appeared in his eyes, then vanished almost instantly. Yes, he said, the Count of Monte Cristo treats me very well. He's very rich, isn't he? He certainly is. I go to his house often, so I can see for myself. The other day, a banker's clerk brought him 50,000 francs in a portfolio. Yesterday, a banker brought him 100,000 francs in gold. And you go into that house? Asked Caderousse eagerly. Whenever I like. Caderousse remained silent for a moment. It was easy to see that he was turning over some profound thought in his mind. Then suddenly he said, Oh, I'd like to see that. It must be wonderful. It's magnificent. Doesn't he live on the Avenue de Champs-Élysées? Yes, at number 30. You'll have to take me there someday. You know that's impossible. Yes, I suppose you're right, but tell me about it. Is it a big house? Not too big and not too little. How is it laid out? I'd have to draw you a plan. Here, said Caderousse, going over to a desk and taking a sheet of paper, some ink, and a pen. Andrea picked up the pen with an almost imperceptible smile and began to draw. The house is between a courtyard and a garden like this, he said. Are the walls high? Asked Caderousse. No, 8 or 10 feet at most. Let's see what the floor is like. On the first floor there are 2 salons and a dining room and a billiard room. What are the windows like? Magnificent. They're so big I think a man of my size could pass through each pane. What about the shutters? They're never closed. The Count is eccentric, and he likes the sky at night. Where do the servants sleep? They sleep in a separate building on your right as you enter. Only yesterday I was saying to the Count, it's careless of you, Count. When you go to Auteuil and take your servants with you, your house is completely empty. One fine day it's going to be robbed. And what did he answer? He said, What do I care if I'm robbed? He must have some sort of mechanical desk. What do you mean? One that catches a thief in a trap and sets off an alarm. There was one like that in my last exposition. No, he only has an ordinary desk, and no one ever steals anything from it. No, his servants are very devoted to him. There must be plenty in that drawer, eh? Probably. No one knows exactly what's in it. Where is it? On the second floor. Draw me a plan of the second floor as you did for the first floor. All right. Andrea took up his pen again. Here's an antechamber and a salon, he said. To the left of the salon, there's a library and a study. To the right of the salon, there's a bedroom and a dressing room. The desk is in the dressing room. Is there a window in the dressing room? There are 2 of them, here and here. Andrea drew the windows on his plan. Caderousse became thoughtful. Does he go to Auteuil often? 2 or 3 times a week. Tomorrow, for example, he's going to spend the day there and stay overnight. Are you sure? He asked me to come to dinner there. Will you go? Probably. And when you go there for dinner, do you stay overnight? If I feel like it. Caderousse looked at the young man as though to tear the truth out from the bottom of his heart, but Andrea took a case of cigars from his pocket, calmly lit one of them, and began to smoke in a perfectly natural manner. When would you like your 500 francs? He asked. Right now, if you have it. I don't carry 500 francs in my pocket. Then leave it with your concierge and I'll stop by for it. Today? No, tomorrow. I won't have time today. All right, tomorrow. You won't bother me anymore, will you? Never. But let me give you some friendly advice. What is it? I advise you to leave that diamond ring with me. How can you make such a stupid mistake? Are you trying to get us both caught again? What do you mean? You've dressed yourself like a servant, but you're still wearing a diamond ring worth 4,000 or 5,000 francs. That's a very accurate appraisal. You ought to be an auctioneer. I know something about diamonds. I had one once. Without becoming angry at this, new extortion, as Caderousse had feared he might, Andrea obligingly handed over the ring. "Is there anything else you want?" he asked. "You need my jacket. How about my cap? Don't be ashamed to ask." "All right, I won't keep you any longer, and I'll try to cure myself of my greed. Wait a moment. I'll show you the door." "Never mind. I'll have to." "Why?" "Because there's a little secret on the door, a precaution I thought it advisable to take. One of Huret and Fichet's locks revised and corrected by Gaspard Caderousse. I'll make one for you when you become a capitalist." "Thanks," said Andrea. "I'll let you know a week in advance." They parted. Caderousse remained on the landing until he had seen Andrea walk down 3 flights of stairs and cross the courtyard. Then he hurried back into his room, carefully locked the door, and began to study with profound attention the plan which Andrea had left him.